Just working. Obviously, we don't like where we at, but a lot of football left. So a lot of things we need to fix, but just got to keep working. So
What are some of those things you want to fix for this week?
not missing tackles on defense, but we got to do our part. Not letting big plays hit us, and even though it's one or two big plays we giving up, we can take that away. And then a couple times we had to get the ball out, we could have recovered, but we didn't. So it's little things that you want to try to do to help your team and trying to have some success any way you can. So.
Sean said he doesn't expect your game status to be in question this week, even though you're on the injury report, the foot issue. Are you doing okay? Can you share what happened, and do you expect to play on Sunday?
I expect to play. I'm doing good. Just making sure that I'm as healthy as I can. So ain't no limitations. So just working.
As a collective group, does it help you guys that last year you went through that 3-game losing streak? You didn't lose focus. You stayed together. You got through it. Do you look back on that as a group right now?
No, but a part of football is you're gonna have adversity. They're gonna be goods, they're gonna be bads, they're gonna be ups, they're gonna be downs. It just happen. I think that's the first time since we had Sean that it's this early in the season. But like I said, it's a lot of football left. It's a long season, and we control the outcome of the rest of the year by the way we play. So there's nothing to panic about. Obviously, you want to get things fixed and do what you need to do to get yourself going as a team. We're going to do that. I know the coach's mindset is that. I know the players' mindset is that. We talked today as a group. So we know what we need to do. We just got to go out there, perform, and continue to play. So.
When you're rushing the quarterback, are you at all thinking about a roughing the passer penalty?
No, you just play football, and hopefully, you don't get flagged and, you sack the quarterback the right way. So.
Did you see anything needs to be done to adjust that rule?
Yeah, but, that ain't my call, so.
Did you see that Chris Jones play?
I seen his. I seen the one on Brady. So, that's tough. But ain't nothing I can do about it. But just keep playing. And right now the rules are the rules, and hopefully we can do something to kind of change that so we can as rushers be able to just play. So.
How did you like playing on the edge of last week?
Wherever I can go to get opportunities to, get the one-on-ones and opportunities to help my team and make plays, I'm all for it. So.
What did you say to, if you recall, to Jalen Ramsey when he got his first career sack?
I asked him, "That was your first sack, right?" He said, "Yeah," and I just started laughing. I was proud of him. I was happy for him. So that was it.
Does that surprise you that was as great as he's been as long as he's played? That's his first.
Yeah, I remember he talking about it last year, though, because he got half a sack, and he ain't like that. He was like, "I need a whole sack. I don't want to count that." And that's why when I remember he said that last year, he got that sack last week, and that's why I said something to him. So I'm happy for him.
Sean talked earlier this week about how through adversity you can grow and sometimes learn things about yourself that you wouldn't otherwise. What have you personally in this team learned that you might not have if everything was going more smoothly?
Well, I feel like adversity obviously do two things to you. It can keep you down, or it can motivate you and make you work that much harder. From my conversations with certain players we got, talking to some of the coaches, me personally, it's nothing to panic about, because I understand everybody's mindset. Just talking to them, how everybody feel. I think we got a lot of good veteran guys that played on some good football teams that accomplished some great things in this league, and they understand what we need to do to get back on track. It's just bringing the young guys along. They don't got that much experience and making them comfortable. So, they had that same mindset we got. But, that's us as leaders, bringing them guys along, talking to them guys, trying to find ways to build their confidence up any way we can. So, they play a big part of helping us win games. So, just having everybody on the same page. So.
How do you prepare for the not just the passing, but the movement of the quarterback, who there's only a couple of NFL games from him on tape?
Well, obviously, you got enough film to watch how he play, certain things he do, the way he move. I think he's a good quarterback. Obviously, he's mobile like every other quarterback in this league nowadays. So, just being, conscious of the way you rush him, to keep him balled up and trying to find ways to, like every week, to make him uncomfortable. So.
Every Sunday in this league, everyone's trying to beat anyone, and anyone can beat anyone. But what I'm asking you is, 5 games in, do you feel like it's different this year since you guys are the defending champs? The amount of effort and what teams are bringing, with you guys circled on their calendar, on their schedule?
No, it's a new year. So last year's last year. I think this year is a brand new year, and I think teams are just playing football and just, we ain't been executing and doing things that we need to do as a team. So it's just one of them years right now. Started off how we ain't want to start it off, but like I said, it's a lot of football left for us to, get things corrected, get things fixed, and get back on track. So.
All set?
Yeah.
Who's going to go first?
Raheem, as talented as Jalen is, how surprised were you that last Sunday was his first career sack?
Well, we've been talking about it for quite some time. Jalen and I, particularly when we start playing him a little bit more at the star position, getting him inside, getting some of the pressures. He got close last year a couple of times, got a couple quarterback hits. I think he hit Tom Brady. I think he got a penalty on Goff. Or not, he didn't get a penalty, actually got fined on Goff when he hit him, but it was actually a pretty good quarterback hit. A couple of occasions he got close and to finally get it. I didn't even realize it in the game, and he came to me all excited talking about it, and that's pretty cool for him. That's a pretty cool stat line in order to be able to get those things. And for a great player to feel that kind of excitement, it always makes you happy, makes you fun, lets you know the game is fun.
With the quarterback hits and just kind of what's happened.
Gary with the tough question.
No, it's tough, but just, do you coach, what's your view on, how they're calling roughing the passer? And do you change any way that you have to coach your guys?
So the first view for it, Gary, is I understand it's for player safety, which is first and foremost in what we do. The next thing is you have to coach it. We have been over the last couple of years. We talk about hitting in the strike zone, which is below the neck area and above the waist area, because you can't go too low, you can't go too high. Some of those things are penalties. They did, however, take out some of the penalties when you graze their head with your hand, which I thought was excellent this year. And now it's talking about the landing on them and how you want to land on them. And so you got to try to roll. And dude, some penalties are going to get called that you think are wrong. That'll always happen. That'll always be part of our game. That'll always be what it is. We got to try to protect that from those penalties? Those penalties are so critical. No doubt, no question. I'm sure the league will clean that up. I'm sure they'll get together, and we'll get rid of some of those controversial calls that we had from the last week. Nobody wants to see that. Fans, players, coaches, media members, nobody. So we'll clean those things up, but we all just got to know it's in the benefit of player safety, and we got to keep that first and foremost on our minds.
Is it a danger for a defensive player, though, at all, when they're trying to pull up or?
It is. Sarah, it is 100% scary. That's why you got to coach it, because you got to take your head and neck area out of the game. You got to strike them with your shoulder in those areas I talked about, which I call the strike zone, and you want to hit them in those areas. And you want to still be able to mentally and physically affect the quarterback, but you just want to do it in the safest way possible. And it does put those guys in a little bit of harm's way, whether you're talking about a defensive receiver, you're talking about hitting a quarterback, all those things. But, it's a part of our game. It's us trying to make it better. It's us trying to make it safer. And I'm always for that, about making these guys safe. So I don't want to ever knock that, even if the call may go against me one day. Sarah, I know that's going to happen, and I'm going to promise not to have a different tune for you.
Raheem, with the Panthers going through a coaching change, you've been in a situation before.
Thanks for reminding me.
Talking about that. What's the kind of mood in the locker room for a team going through that? What's the mindset you think they might go through the Panthers right now?
I know those guys, Steve, very pretty well. And you're talking about mental toughness. And I'm sure he's going to go in there and he's going to talk about mental toughness. He's going to simplify things. He's going to want to cut things back. He's going to try to display the team in his light. So whatever those changes are, whatever those cutbacks are, whatever those things are moving forward, talking about the toughness up front, talking about the toughness on both sides of the ball, some of those things. You got to start somewhere when you start in those roles and you take over those roles, and at the same time be respectful to your predecessor.
Make them
What kind of guy cuts me off? I wouldn't even finish, but I'll let you.
my bad.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Does this make them a little bit offense, new quarterback, new coach, or can you count on what you've seen on film through the first 5 weeks?
Well, we're fortunate we got the same play caller on offense in McAdoo, which is a really good play caller in my opinion. Getting a new quarterback, obviously that changed up things a little bit. I got some history with PJ. He's played against him in Atlanta. He's been in the league since 17. He's played in Indy. He's done a really good job of really taking his game to another level and being serious about his professional craft. That's how you hang around so long when you're in that role. He's gotten in. I believe he's 2-0 as a starter. He's filled in a couple of different games and played well. He came in against us a couple years ago. We knocked out Teddy Bridgewater in Atlanta. He came in, filled in, can throw the ball, spin it really well, plays with a great base. He got all the things that those quarterback coaches talk about in the room: base, arm twitch, accuracy, all of those things that I've gotten from my quarterback gurus over the years. You're so respectful. I love it, Jordan.
To expand on that, when you're game planning, Raheem,
Yes.
against PJ versus what you would Baker, it's a little different, no different, a lot different?
It's definitely a lot different. It's just different because you want to go get a feel for the player, the guys. You want to see him play. You want your guys to see him play. You want them to know what he can do. And he got in last week. So we seen him get in last week, kind of a 2-minute situation or a 2-score game where he's trying to come back and he's able to go out there and deliver some strikes as far as quick game, get the ball out of his hand. He knows exactly where to go, all those type of things. You're not playing against a rookie. You're not playing against a guy who's green. You're playing against a guy that's been in this situation before, probably not afraid of the moment. You'd have to ask them those things, but it definitely changes your approach on how you want to play. When they go in and they're building with Baker, you see things, you see the advancements, you see the stuff that he wants to do next. You can kind of get a feel for those things, but when you're starting with PJ, you're talking about going in there and having his start and what he does best and doing some of the things that he really does really well.
Going back to the roughing the passer stuff.
Yes.
You're with those guys all the time, the D linemen and the pass rushers in general. What's the nuance of the conversation when everybody can agree that they want the game to be safe, but it's a specific decision that's making it safe for one player, not necessarily for the others?
No doubt. That's a fair question, Jordan. It's just that you want the game to be safe, and you just don't want it to be officiated poorly. You don't want it to be officiated one-sided, so to speak. And that's probably the biggest argument with those guys. I hate to reference anybody's that happened because I don't know what the stance is on it. But, when you see some of them and you feel like they're legal, then it's just like, okay, what do we do to get the next coaching point? Who do we call and ask? How do we go about that differently? And you just can't be sarcastic with the whole feel for it all, whether you received the call or the call was against you. I think you just got to go information. I feel for Arthur Smith last week and how that happened and how those plays, because you want to see how the game would have played out if you get to stop, and you go out and you're able to go finish that drive, and who knows what happens, right? Especially in this league. This is a 3-point league most of the time, right? So you want to go out there and play those games and let those things be officiated fairly, and at the same time keeping both players safe. And it is a little one-sided when we're talking about the quarterback. We are talking about the money position in our league. Make no mistake about that. So it's going to be that way, and it's just stuff you got to deal with. I can sit up here and complain. I could jump on the player side either way, but at the end of the day, nobody cares what I think, and I'm going to try to go play within the rules and get our guys to execute within the rules.
With Aaron Donald playing on the edge last week and with 2 sacks, how did that plan come about, and should we expect to see that more this week?
Well, I'm not going to tell what we're going to do, but I will say moving him around is just something that we do a lot of. We did it last year versus Tampa. He had a big sack, I believe, at our home game. He had a couple on the edge last year. I believe somebody in this room told me last year that he had 6 on the inside and 6 on the outside, and I thought that was a pretty cool stat. I think I put that in my resume. But he is so much fun to move around. It's so much fun to do different things with that you can be creative that way. And I got 2 or 3 of the more creative guys in the National Football League, in my opinion, and Eric Henderson, Thad Bogardis, Chris Shula, and all those guys that are involved with the rush or have been involved with the rush in the past, and Skylar Jones, a part of that as well, and all those people that do those things, and myself, to be with those guys and to yes, no, or to get the stuff in the game plan, for that particular player. Those are special moments. I say a lot in this room, you want to get your A players to play A, and that was the definition of it last week when you get Aaron Donald to play that way.
In his predominant interior rush, how does Aaron create space with his hands?
Probably have to ask Aaron that, but I'll give you a simple version with myself. He doesn't miss. He's very accurate. He's very accurate with his hands. His hand placement goes exactly where he wants it all the time. That allows him to use all of his power. If you ever seen him in the weight room, it is absolutely astonishing to watch. And if he can get his hands in the right position and catch you off balance, he uses his height to his advantage, where most players can't. And I think he's just unbelievable with his hand placement and how he puts his hands on people and where he puts them and what he wants to do each and every snap.
What have you seen from Christian McCaffrey in the past, and what do you see?
I've seen way too much of Christian McCaffrey in the past. A lot of it I like to not remember. And what I'm seeing on tape right now is a lot of very familiar things. You know, you're talking about a one-cut runner that gets downhill, doesn't waste time, has no wasted movement, just chews up yardage. And then he leads the team in receiving. He catches the ball out the backfield. He's able to split out, run routes, whether it's choice, whether it's CO, whether it's whatever the case, lookies, whatever you want to call him. He's a dynamic football player. He's one of the best in this game. You know, I remember I was in Atlanta when he was an possible MVP, and I haven't seen much change. And when you watch him play right now, to be honest, he's the Cooper Cup of running backs.
Did you have a chance to catch up with Dan Quinn before the game on Sunday? If so, what was the nature of that conversation? And when you think about, as we mentioned, where y'all were 2 years ago, what stands out about the progress he's made?
Unfortunately, I did. His beard is a lot tougher. He's got time to get away from the game and appreciate it a little bit more. We always stayed in contact even when he was out. It's only a phone call away when he was in Hawaii. So when he came back and we talked about what he was going to do next when he went to Dallas, you know, obviously I was a big Cowboy fan whenever we're not playing him. And then playing him last week, it was fun to go watch those guys play. And it wasn't just Dan, you're talking about Adam Durde, you're talking about Joe Witt, all that staff that was with us in Atlanta, and those guys moving to Dallas. You got a lot of love for those guys and what they're doing. You got a lot of respect for what they're doing, and they're playing really well. And we'll always be in contact with each other, and we all breathe and live the same mantra: stature for losers. Let's go out there and get these wins. Have a good one, guys.
We're playing at home. We were playing at home again, in the on our silent cadence. I definitely think that has a little bit to do with it in some instances where you have some new guys playing, and just communication issues can occur when you're playing in a loud environment at home. Sometimes that's a little bit frustrating, but that's not an excuse. We have to be able to communicate. We have to both visually and and non-verbally communicate at a high level. It's what we pride ourselves on. It's what we talk about all the time is communication. And we didn't do it at a high level, and it ended up, hurting us in a lot of instances. So something that's been a big point of emphasis this week, and hopefully we'll be on our verbal cadence this week a little bit at home, and be able to get some of those things communicated and cleaned up the right way.
Understanding that the offensive line continuity is like a big caveat here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to see more of from the running backs?
Creativity, right? I mean, guys are. It's not always going to be clean. It's not always going to be a perfect wide, gaping hole. I think that's where running backs are special because they're creative, right? Since flag football, you go back to early days of playing the position, and sometimes when the ball is supposed to go here, it's kind of structured to go there or designed to go. Sometimes that stuff's got to go out the window, and guys need to go be playmakers and be special with the ball in their hands. And there's a fine line to that when you're in the zone running game, because it is truly one gap at a time, pressing your landmark and letting the play come to you in a sense. But when we're one-on-one and we have space, we need to take advantage of that, and that's been also a point of emphasis this week.
With that said, do you guys need to, with the offensive line situation, do you need to just do what you do better, or do you need to get more creative play calling wise to open this thing up a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a balance, right? We're going into a game, before the bye. It's a fine line of, do we try to go and get ultra creative? Obviously it's an important game. We need to go win this football game. But that being said, is this the time to really have to reevaluate everything that we're doing up front? Sometimes we just don't have a lot of time to do that in a 1 week span. So maybe that's something we look at after this game. But I do think right now, a lot of the issues that we had this past week were communication and just everybody being on the same page. And when you have multiple different players playing up front in every single game, like Jordan just mentioned, there's no chemistry, there's no continuity that you're able to build and gain on and work off of the previous week, because it's been a little bit of a kind of carousel of those guys. So that's something that we're working on. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button and go, hey, we need to reevaluate everything we're doing. I think this week we need to do it at a higher level, get back to basics, fundamentals, techniques, and see where we can go.
I'm sure you appreciate the protection for your quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you look around the league and see some of those roughing the passer calls that have been made. How do you think that's affecting you?
I probably don't notice it as much, even though coming from a quarterback standpoint, but I just think it's so subjective in a lot of ways, where calls are made in the instance. Sometimes they get them right, sometimes they get them wrong. And I think it's just all about player safety. It's all about what's best for our players moving forward in this league. And I think that everybody will try to get it right in the way that they can. I haven't probably paid as much attention to it. Hasn't directly affected us in a way, I guess, in this instance right now up to this season. But sometimes they get them right, sometimes they get them wrong. I believe that with really all officials, and don't really think that it truly negatively impacts a game, refs, and how they make decisions. But this is different because it's about player safety. But I think they'll end up getting it right. I think they're continuing to work on it. He'll be all right.
When we've asked Sean about Allen Robinson, he kind of has given this one answer of, we just got to play better offensively.
Yeah.
But what does that mean, and what is kind of behind that? And
Well,
what are more details about what you need to do to get him involved?
It's hard to just say we're going to get him the ball when we can't even. We're struggling to communicate to pass protect, and to get all on the same page. So when you can't get the play started, it's really difficult to say, let's make sure we get Allen 5 targets, or this guy this amount of targets. We're just trying to function right now at a high level. We're trying to get back to executing our offense the way it should be, efficiently, no communication issues. We've had more mental errors and busts that just are a little bit foreign to this offense and to this system, and we have had a lot of guys play. That's not an excuse, it's a reality. So I think right now it's a little bit less about players than it is the overall execution. It's always about the guys going out and making plays, but we're more so focusing on how do we just function at a high level to get some confidence, from our front five, the quarterback, and then let the ball just find these guys in a way that just, hey, we can execute our offense. It's not about force feeding one guy or the other. We just need to function at a higher level right now, and that's our biggest focus.
Sean has mentioned don't let the past 60 minutes, 120 minutes of the
For
last
sure.
two games affect this team. Do you coach between the years right now so the guys believe that?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I haven't really felt personally is like a waiver of belief. I don't feel that from the guys. I think they're straining, the effort, the way that it's not like we don't play hard. We're just not playing very smart. And we're kicking ourselves in the butt in a lot of instances. We can't continue to turn the football over. We've got to protect the quarterback better. We've got to run the football better. I know those all sound very general, but it's a pretty simple game in a lot of ways. And those are the little things that we're not doing at a high level or an efficient level right now that we need to get back to in order to be able to focus. But I've sensed no waiver in terms of the confidence that these guys have, that they're playing with. I think we'll go out and make some plays, and our job is to continue to try to keep it simple and let them go do that. Yeah.
Going back to the chemistry part on the offensive line, you have veteran guys like Ode and Matt Skura. Is that why it's a little hard to get them in there? Because you don't want to add more moving parts, already a lot of moving parts.
Yes, another two new, guys that get reps, and it takes time to be able to get these guys. I mean, our offense has evolved over the years and years, and there's a little bit different nuances to playing the position up front in our offense. And I think those guys are continuing, they're getting met with the offensive line coaches, extra throughout the day. They're getting reps in practice or a little bit more individual. So, hey, maybe it's not, who knows when it's this week or the next one. We've got to continue to develop those guys and give us the best five that give us the best chance to win on Sunday.
When teams realize, these are two different variables, obviously, but when teams realize that the communication is tough, when defenses realize that in the game flow.
Yeah.
And or, like, for example, when a new center comes in mid-game, does that change the type of pressure they're sending at you?
A little bit. I mean, you saw Dallas maybe put a nose a little bit more on our center and some things like that to just try to occupy him for a tick longer, right? When you're uncovered as a center, life's good. When you're covered, a lot of times it's just you're snapping the ball and you have somebody immediately on you and you have to be ready to pass things off that much faster. So I think you saw those guys put a little bit more 5-on-5 to get true one-on-ones across the board. And a lot of times we didn't win those one-on-ones, and sometimes we did. And the times that we did, we had some things that we missed. So it's just this kind of chemistry right now that we're battling is there's times there's pressure and there's things open and we miss, or it's gloved and we don't get it off, or it's wide open and we don't protect it, or it's clean. So there's a lot of different things that are happening that we just needed to just settle down and be able to come together as a unit.
Liam, in terms of that chemistry, I mean, obviously repetition is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Building that familiarity and things like that. But what would you say is the next most important variable for getting that, I guess, fixed? And
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of time necessarily.
It started today, in our protection meeting. I think that we had a great protection meeting in terms of the guys really ran it. It's one thing to have us coaches say, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to do it. When the players lead it and the players take, hold of it, typically you get a different result. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I got to believe the feeling, the confidence, the communication that we had today in a few meetings, it was a little bit more player-led. And I think that's ultimately what you want from any side of the ball, right, in terms of confidence, leadership, and ownership. And we felt that today.
I think you're touching on it some, but when you identify the mental errors or something that's a big challenge, how do you as a coach tweak, if at all, the way you're going about?
Oh, yeah. Do we have too much in? Do we have too many different formations? Do we have too many different concepts? How many plays do we have in each window on third down? How many plays do we have in the red zone? How many base runs, base pass? So it's just more quality over quantity in some ways, and also simplifying some of the ways that we do things can also help. But players also have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to learn the scheme and to apply it in practice and in the games. And we talk about practice performance equaling game reality, and we'll do it right in practice, and then we have some mistakes in the games. And I think that's going to naturally happen when you have so many new players playing, that's experience, right? So we definitely look ourselves in the mirror when it comes to some of those mental mistakes. Absolutely, we look at ourselves first and foremost. I think we're trying to make sure we do the things that we need to do in order to trim the inventory for these guys, clarity to just go play fast and have fun.
This being such a point of pride, Sean, or any offensive head coach, do you change the way that you personally communicate with him during times like this?
No, I think that he needs, just as a leader of this organization and of our offense, support, just like anybody else in tough times. We need to lean on each other. If anything, we need to come more together and meet more as a staff and meet more as a unit and do some of those different things that Sean's always the type of person, and I think it's rubbed off on our staff, is in times of crisis, let's hunker in together. Let's get in the bunker and really think about how we can do this thing together, whether it's with the coaches, the staff, the players. And I think we've done that a little bit more this week as we have in the past is, hey, let's get together more here. Let's make sure everybody's on the same page and there's no, maybe he could have seen it this way and I see it a different way. Let's all get on the same page, and I think that helps with Sean just being at the forefront of this offense and this organization. It helps as an offensive staff. Good? Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.